So this is a conversation with leading executives across football, golf, rugby, and hockey. And we're going to learn a little bit more about the strategies that they've implemented to address some unique challenges that they face in their respective sports. So first, we're going to bring up Becki Wronko Civello, the Chief Operating Officer of Next League, who will be moderating our panel. And our panelists include Odessa Jenkins, the founder of Women's National Football Conference, Liz Moore, Chief Legal and Technology Officer of the Ladies Professional Golf Association. It's always so funny as a sports person when they write the whole thing out. I'm like, so LPGA, great. Owen, Scannell, the founder and CEO of Premier Rugby Sevens, and Amy Scheer, the Senior Vice President of Business Operations of the Premier Women's Hockey League.
Hi, everybody. Excited to dive in. As a former young athlete myself, I'm thrilled that women's sports is finally getting the attention that it so deserves. I'm very proud to be here with OJ, Liz, Owen, and Amy, and we have a lot to cover, so I'm going ahead and dive right in. I'd love to start today with having you all cover your organizations, what you're currently focused on, and what the opportunity is. OJ, would you start us?
Sure, I'll go first. My organization, the Women's National Football Conference, short for WNFC, we are one of the fastest growing football leagues ever. We are in 17 markets from Seattle, Washington, D.C., 1,000 women, and one of the fastest growing sports. We have both tackle and flag disciplines in our league, and what we're focused on right now is creating financial equity for women and girls through the power of football and showing little girls that sports is for everybody. And when I say that, I mean every body type, and that there will be a place to play for girls who want to grow up and become quarterbacks.
Thank you, Becki, and thank you, Sportico, for having us. The LPGA is, as I think probably most people recognize us as, kind of the global leader in professional women's golf, but the LPGA umbrella actually covers a lot of women's golf. We like to say cradle to grave. So not that it's probably appropriate for me to fact check the commissioner, and I hope she's not here because I haven't actually met her in person, but we are the longest running women's professional sport league. Next year is our 75th anniversary, so we're very excited about that. Founded in 1950 by 13 incredible women. Thank you. And so we're obviously recognized for our touring professional players. We operate the LPGA Tour. We represent players that represent about 60 different countries. We play in 15 different states, and this year I think 10, maybe 11 different countries. We also operate the Epson Tour, which is our US-based developmental tour that plays in the United States. And then now through a joint venture partnership that we have with the Ladies European Tour, we also operate that tour, which represents an equal diversity of membership over about 60 to 65 different countries. That tour plays primarily in Europe, but also plays in the Middle East, Northern Africa, Australia, and Asia. So that's our touring professionals business, but we also have a division of our membership. For those of you who don't know golf, it can be a little bit of alphabet soup and it can be somewhat confusing. We also have a teaching and club professional membership that is about 2,000 to 2,500 women who make their vocation in golf. So they are teachers, instructors, club pros. Those are also members that we serve. And then along the cradle to grave continuum, we have a social recreational league, the LPGA Amateur Golf Association, that has about 20,000 members. If you're interested in the game, look around for your local chapter. And finally, we have a juniors program. We operate with our partners at the USGA, LPGA Girls Golf. We have over 600 sites in 17 countries, teaching golf to little girls. So spreading the word around the world for all ages.
Sure. Owen, can you share?
Yep. I'm the CEO of Premier Rugby Sevens. We are North America's first professional women's rugby competition. We're we're the actually first global standalone rugby sevens circuit. I know a lot of people here are probably have now become recently familiar with rugby sevens, so it saves me the time to explain what the differences are between the two. But obviously a tremendous moment. It's an Olympic sport and has been an Olympic sport since 2016. Our league has existed since 2021, where we've put on a traveling circuit, bringing our platform and showcasing our tremendous athletes and the great sport of rugby in markets all across North America. This past year, we had over 19 medalists, or 21 medalists at the Olympics, 19 of which were female. And we've been one of the first organizations to pioneer equity in really everything we do. So whether that be equal pay, access to high performance, coaching, travel and logistics, we've prioritized and made a key point of what we've been developing is to grow sport from the ground up in the way that it would be with a blank slate. And so we're actually just getting ready to kind of kick off with rugby's biggest events coming to the United States, and so we're looking forward to doing playing a key part in continuing to grow the audience for rugby, for sevens, and for women's rugby in particular in the U.S.
And Amy, can you round us out?
Sure. So Professional Women's Hockey League, we are, I guess, the rookies on the block here. November 30th, we will have the start of season number 2. We have 6 teams across 2 markets, 3 in Canada, Toronto, Montreal, and Ottawa, and 3 in the US, Boston, New York, and Minnesota. Just launched our new team names about a month ago. First year, we just went out with PWHL branding. So big moment for us to actually have team names now, and about another month we'll come out with our uniforms and our new jerseys. We've got 150 of the best hockey players in the world. We've got well over 50 Olympians in our league. It is, without question, the best brand of women's hockey you will ever see. We've got 14 different countries represented across our league. I think we've prided ourselves on being innovative. I think coming out of the gate in the first year, we've changed some of the rules of the game to make it a little bit more physical, to have, when you have a power play, if you score a shorthanded goal, your player comes out of the penalty box. So we've tried to do some fun rules to make the game more exciting and to try to encourage more scoring. Very successful year one. We're fortunate enough to sell out several NHL buildings. Over 500,000 fans came through the gates for our games this year. Great ratings across broadcast. So very successful year one for us, and more ahead.
That sounds great. So you talked about your successful year one with the preseason starting soon and the season starting shortly thereafter that. Can you share a little bit about how year 2 might look different in comparison to the first season?
Sure. So year one was an absolute sprint. I started actually 2 months before our first game, so came out of the box sprinting. I'm not quite sure that anybody on our team has stopped, but year 2, we will increase our schedule. Last year we played 24 games. This year will be 30 per team, so 90 full games in on the schedule. Last year we played 2 games on what we call neutral sites. This year we'll do up to 9 neutral site games, so 3 out-of-market games in Canada and 6 in the US, and this is to help grow audience across the country. We'll have some new broadcast news that will be coming out hopefully early next week, some new broadcast partners coming on with us as well. But I think allowing one off-season and increasing the schedule, I think we'll probably have some rivalries form. I think we'll be able to tell more stories about our players, which we didn't really have a chance to do in the first year. Everything was so confined and congested, and we were just so operationally focused. I think we have some great stories to tell across with our players. So I think, we moved 2 teams into bigger buildings, so some change in venues, so a lot more tickets to sell. So I think also too, now that we have team names and we've got brands, I think we'll see how the fans and the teams bring those brand names to life. So we're really excited to see that. I think probably for me, I'm the most excited to see how our fans bring our team names to life. So more intentional around how we work in year 2, less operational, more strategically. So fun things ahead.
That sounds great. I'm excited to see the Sirens play in person in a couple of weeks. So
Prudential Center for everybody.
Cool. OJ, of the new leagues here, yours is the longest tenured. Would love for you to share a bit about from the beginning, what you've learned, how it's evolved to where you are today.
Absolutely. So, we started the WNFC because we didn't see a place where the best players in the world had to play on a professional level. I played for 10 seasons. I was the top running back in women's tackle football, captain of the U.S. national team, got recruited by the NFL to do the Bill Walsh Diversity Internship, was coaching with the Atlanta Falcons, and Devontae Freeman was about to sign the biggest contract in the history of the NFL, and everyone knew who he was, and no one knew who I was, and I didn't like it. And I'm like, you running back, I'm a running back. Is it the uterus? And so I really, we, all the women who were playing on the U.S. national team at the time wanted to see that change. And I was about to exit my first tech company, and everybody looked at me and said, you know how to run businesses, you know how to make money. Why aren't we doing this for women's football? And so that's how the WNFC was birthed. I had my first tech exit, and I took some of that capital, and that's how we started the WNFC. And so 5 years later, it is still very much this chip on the shoulder, hardcore business that's looking at women's sports and saying, not only is there a place for us, and not only is football king, but it's going to be queen. And I think from a business perspective, what we've really tried to focus on was doing it right operationally. And so sponsors jumped on right away. Adidas jumped on, and we didn't even know how to engage with them, to be honest with you. But Adidas, and all these sponsors really stuck side by side and said, we're going to do a startup. We're going to do this in the right way. We're going to let you create. And we have women from 22 countries who have trusted us over the last 5 years. But what have we done, I think, in the last 2 years is really what matters. The fact that people are now taking women in football seriously, that flag football is one of the fastest growing sports in the world, that it has a unique position that's kind of like pickleball, where both the daughter and the mom and the dad are playing. I don't think anybody ever thought that would be happening in football. And the fact that we're creating a space for families to do that, but also for professionalism, I think is different. But we're focused on the dollar. We're focused on attacking pay to play right now. This is going to be news soon, but we've been working our tail off for the last year and just closed our seed round of funding. So that's a big deal for us. And so the focus is, thank you. The focus is we want to create stars out of the top players in the world who are playing in the WNFC. Most of the U.S. national team plays in our league, and we want them to rightfully have a place to play professionally.
Amazing. And I love that it's your purpose. And when we were chatting a little bit before, I said, I can't wait to see what the next 2 years looks like. And OJ turned to me and said, the next 12 months.
Let's go.
Keep your eye on that. Owen, rugby is one of the fastest growing sports in the U.S., as you mentioned, and specifically the Sevens. Can you talk about how you're optimizing on that right now and taking advantage, especially with the announcement of the All-Star tournament?
Yeah, no, and thanks. It's obviously a huge moment for rugby. I think when people look at the sport and with the events that are coming in 2028, 2031, and 2033, for rugby to kind of have a really seismic summer has obviously been a real blessing in a lot of ways for a lot of the athletes, for our competition, for the visibility around the sport, because it's one of the fastest growing sports. There are 28 varsity women's rugby programs across the country. There's actually a push to get to 40, which point it becomes a funded NCAA sport. So there's a big surge in participation. One of the things that we've looked on, though, is that we look at our success and kind of where we want to push and how we measure that is really kind of twofold. One is kind of entertainment, and that's kind of your regular way professional sports leagues. But our role as within rugby is also to help facilitate and encourage participation. We've started our Rise initiative, which is helping grow youth sevens, particularly across the country. But I think most importantly on the entertainment side, we have this. We know that there's a real moment and attention in the sport, and we want to make sure we capitalize on that and continue to have an opportunity for people and audiences post-Olympics to see some of these fantastic athletes in that time frame before they go on the international circuit again. So we recently announced, and I'm going to take Lisa's line from earlier, which is really helpful and convenient, but our All-Star Weekend will be held in Portland, Oregon at Providence Park, which is what I now know is to be the epicenter of women's sports, so very thrilled to hear that line. But it will be a moment for Team USA to come back to play on home soil in front of their fans within 2 months or 3 months of the Olympics. They'll play the PR Sevens All-Stars, which will be a collection of players from around the country, kind of the next generation of players that have been playing in PR Sevens. And so we're really excited about this opportunity for American rugby fans to see the Seven Stars playing on home soil, to experience how awesome Sevens is as a live event, and even a digital content product. And so trying to kind of make sure we strike while the iron's hot and continue to build audience and get people excited about what we think is just such a tremendous game that people around the world know and love, but maybe is just kind of finding its foothold in the United States.
Great. Liz, your organization's a little bit different than the others that are with us today, with being around for nearly 75 years. But there's been such attention on golf over the last couple of years, specifically women's golf. What are the opportunities that you see that are coming up?
Yeah, we've had just a tremendous amount of growth across the last 4 to 5 years. We had already, seen the tournament schedule growing pre-COVID, but I think being one of the first sports to be able to come back during the pandemic, it's one of the benefits of playing outside. Traveling around the globe was not particularly easy, but being able to come back and giving people something to watch, and actually also fueling direct contact and direct participation in the sport. Women is the largest growing segment in golf today and has maintained that for the last several years. So we're enjoying the benefits of that, both in terms of participation, but also fan engagement. In terms of growth, we are a members organization, so the players own the league, if you will, and we're most proud, I think, of the benefits that have trickled down to the members. Our prize purses have grown 75% in the last 3 to 4 years. We're playing for $125 million this year. Our members are. I'm not. Should have taken up the game sooner in life. And with the majors leading the way, I mean, we've had 100% growth in majors. They're now approximately $50 million across 5 events. Our non-majors, though, are also growing 66%. So we're playing for just about $80 million in our non-major events, which is phenomenal. In terms of impact on players, for the first time in 2023, we had 3 players earn more than $3 million in the history of the tour. And we doubled the number of millionaires. We went from 15 to almost 30 players that earned $1 million earn it through play, in addition to what that does to fuel sponsorship opportunities for them. The beauty about that growth and driving sponsors is it also trickles down and allows us to spend some money on our staff and our resources. We've heard a lot about that today. I think Kathy said she had 12 people when she got here, where I'm happy to say we've grown about 35% staff, which is significant over the last 2 years. We have just over 200 people now. But that's allowed us to really invest in marketing, which is to promote those players, to promote the brand of the LPGA, and to help kind of create storytelling and content through that channel. We've also invested in business development to help manage our sponsorships and continue to support them. They're investing in us. We like to make sure they're happy and invest back in them. And then also in technology, we have quite a bit of a focus on our digital transformation. And we've partnered with a number of significant Alliant partners, I would say. We've formed a relationship with SeatGeek and also Legends for our licensing and merchandising to help expand that and elevate it. And then we also have a wonderful partnership with our friends at Next League, thank you, Becki, Dave, and team, to help us map out that digital transformation. While we may be the oldest league up here, we still operate very much like a young league, like a startup. And so we're doing all the things that everyone else is doing. We're trying to capture data. We're trying to engage our fans. We're trying to learn more about who's participating so we can expand that audience. The last thing I'll say just in terms of growth is we've really taken that money and also not only invested in staff, but invested in the players directly. Mental health services, physical services, nutritional information, and support services at our events on the road. Our players are independent contractors. They manage their own small businesses, and so trying to invest in them to help them sustain peak performance, participate in the game longer, and perform, at their best. We also took a lot of that sponsorship money. I think somebody mentioned it earlier. We've taken a lot of our sponsorship dollars and reinvested in players in the form of travel stipends. And miscut minimum payouts, because again, these players are spending their own money to continue to participate, and we're trying to help elongate their careers. So enjoyed that growth, and I think we're certainly hoping that in the next 5 to 10 years that momentum continues.
Absolutely. Amy, the 26 Winter Olympics is right around the corner. Can you share how you think your athletes will participate in the exposure for them, but just the general awareness that'll create for the PWHL League?
Yeah, I think in the past, the only time you could actually see elite women's hockey was really around the Olympics. So now the PWHL allows people to see elite women's hockey, I don't want to say all year round, but for the 6-7 months of our season. And so it's great, number one, that our Olympic athletes now have this league and they have a purpose to train and be the best every year, not just every 4 years. And also the Olympics has really, I think, started dreams for kids. You see athletes out on the ice and you want to be that athlete, and a lot of our hockey players were inspired and started playing because of the Olympics. So for us, and I think in general for women's sports, the Olympics are really important. So actually on a leadership call yesterday, we talked about, okay, we do have the Olympics next year. How do we approach this? And so we're going to name a point person that will lead our Olympic efforts to make sure that going into the Olympics, we've got a plan on how do we maximize our time there. We'll have a plan while the Olympics are going on. What do we do actually from Italy? But what do we also do in our local markets and also other markets? And then what do we do on the tailwind of post-Olympics? So it will be a big initiative for us on how do we tell our players' stories, and how do we use that tailwinds coming out? I know, when I was with the WNBA and running the New York Liberty, it was very much a focus for us every 4 years coming out of the Olympics. You always saw a surge in attendance. So it's on us now to make sure from a league and team perspective that we keep our fans engaged during the Olympics. We understand how do we take that fan and bring him from the TV and the Olympics and bring him into our arena, bring him into our ecosystem on social media, bring him into our merchandise. So we will very much start planning for that probably in the next month to make sure that we're buttoned up on content, ticket sales, live events around the Olympics. We'll build out several tent poles, but the Olympics for women's sports in general are huge, and we'll make sure that we take advantage of it.
OJ, along the same lines, flag will be a sport in the LA 28 games for the first time. How are you thinking about maximizing that opportunity and the exposure for flag and tackle and your athletes?
It's amazing. So 2028 is going to be a launch pad for women in football, women and girls in football. The idea that football, flag football in particular, is a college sport is something that most people don't know, that the NAIA kicked off college football for women 3 years ago, and by 2028, my thought is that it will be an NCAA AA sport. And so for us, it really means answering the one question that most people think about when it comes to tackle and flag football, which is the pipeline. Where do the girls and women come from is the number one question I get. Who's playing tackle football? How does she know how? Because you don't see it in college, you don't see it in schools, and that is going to change. As soon as a girl picks up a football, she starts thinking about all the ways she can play football, not just flag, tackle in all ways. So it benefits us because it creates that coveted pipeline that every sport is trying to get. And so it really is, if women's sports is having a moment right now, women's football is having a movement, because it's the one thing that everyone always waited for, which is where are the girls going to come from? And now we know where they're going to come from. So in the 2028 is a massive moment for us. We're, from a marketing perspective, from a player perspective, from a storytelling perspective, we're going to make sure we take advantage. We're already engaging with those future Olympians in our events. Every year we have a top 100 event sponsored by Adidas. We have our own flag tournaments. In 2025, we're now going to be kicking off our flag flag league in conjunction with the tackle league. So we're making a space to say this is the premier place for her to play prior to and post Olympics, because that's where we think our place is in the sport.
Success probably looks different for all of you, and you probably evaluate it year over year, possibly after seasons and milestones. Are there specific tangible decisions or outcomes that have made an impact on where you are today that you can specifically call out? Owen, would love to start with you.
Well, I don't know if I can say that the winning a bronze medal is a tangible demonstration of success, but that definitely is a helpful, adjacent, and relevant success metric that we were very thrilled to be adjacent to. But no, I mean, for us, right, visibility is everything. As a emerging sport that's kind of gaining traction in the U.S., the more opportunities we have to be in front, to actually be putting our butts in seats and our product on the television, that's a really, those are big moments for us and for our athletes. And so, success, I think, in a lot of ways just comes down to people being able to see rugby, to kind of learn more, to actually, potentially funnel down and pick up a ball and play at the youth and high school levels. But I think for us, and I would like to circle back on the one point on Portland, which I forgot to mention the date, which is November 17th. But we would like to have as many people there as we possibly can, because we think it's a real celebration of the sport and kind of helps us build that momentum to carry forward into 2028 and beyond.
Sounds great. So the time has really flown by, and to wrap us up, I'd love to hear from all of you. What's the one thing you want this audience to take away about your organization? Amy, let's start with you.
Flat out, this is the best hockey you will ever see. Our players are amazing. The games are exciting. I think last year, out of our 72 games, there were only 2 blowouts. Every game goes down to the final minute. The atmosphere is exhilarating. Our fans have just brought the energy every game, almost the same level as our players. The entertainment is great. We've got 6 teams, and it is an absolute blast. So I will encourage every single one of you to come out and support the PWHL. Our players have waited a long time for this league to come to fruition. From the day that Kendall Coyne and Hillary Knight and Angela Ruggiero, somewhere here, started the process to speak to Billie Jean King, it was 4.5 years before this league formed for these players. And they sat out until they got the league that they deserved. And what they really deserve is the attention of every person in this room to come to the arenas and support them and watch them play. They are brilliant, they are wonderful, they are good humans, they are amazing hockey players, and at every level, the game is an absolute joy. We've sold out so many venues. I'll tell you, from someone who's worked in sports for a long time, I cried at several games last year because I could not believe the fan support. It's overwhelmingly pure joy to be there.
Owen?
Takeaway? Well, obviously November 17th, or Providence Park.
November 17th?
November 17th.
17th.
Yeah. See you there. No, I mean, I think similar. There's the Olympics comes around every 4 years, right? And I think one of the things that it would be hoped to take away from everybody else is just there's opportunities to support these athletes, both when they play domestically and in Premier Rugby Sevens, when they play internationally on the World Rugby Tour. There's a lot of great Rugby Sevens out there, and there's obviously everyone knows Alona now, but there's a ton of personalities and great athletes that are in these competitions that really have just tremendous personalities, awesome backstories, and a lot of things that are worthy of your support. And so, to the extent that you see rugby on TV, maybe take a look, watch it, to actually dive in. I think it's one of those, Rugby Sevens is one of those sports that really hooks you, and I think everybody has kind of seen how. And just keep looking out for it because it's around, and would love to have you watch it.
So I'm going to follow the theme and just say we are the Olympics. So the great thing for us is that the top talent from countries all around the globe are playing in our tournaments every week. So you don't have to wait 4 years. You just have to find Golf Channel, which is where we are. So I think my big takeaway would be if you haven't watched golf, I know we're all very proud of our athletes. The talent is off the charts. These women are so good. And so watch. And if you haven't tried to play, if you haven't been to a Top Golf and it hasn't ignited that fire yet, get out there. There is no bad golfer, no matter what anybody tells you, because everybody's bad, okay? So, other than our players. And the last thing I would say is, if you are a girl mom or a girl dad, put a golf club in her hand. Whether she ends up being the next Nellie Korda or Lydia Ko or going into business, it will benefit her, and the family can all play together.
Absolutely. Since no one said one thing, I'm going to say more than one, too. Is that cool? No, because I break the rules. No, but I think if I have to leave you with anything, it is that women's tackle football is the final frontier sport. We sat here, you're going to listen to a lot of things talk about in this conference, but I think the idea that Black and Hispanic athletes represent football in ways that they don't in other sports, and the idea that you see that in football at a higher rate than you see anything means that you're going to see more Black and brown ownership, meaning that you're going to see more women like me sitting here as founders of football leagues that are funded. And that is only going to happen when you embrace the idea that professionalism for tackle football is a thing, and it is a business opportunity, and it is a massive opportunity for us to change the way that people look at women and girls in sports. And so not only is this a business opportunity, this is a world-changing social opportunity for us to unlock that last part of sport that you were not thinking about before I stepped on this stage. There's no way you thought about women's tackle pro football unless you looked at the agenda. Well, now you will. And I'm just saying that because obviously it's a green field in my mind, but it should be for yours as well. To DAZN, who signed a 5-year deal with us, to Adidas, to Riddell, to Dove, who's coming in, every other brand who's already done it, follow their lead, because this, in fact, is the next frontier.
Incredible. Thank you all for sharing. I can't wait to see what's next, and we'll see you on November 17th.